The golden sun hung low over the desert horizon, painting the sand with strokes of fire and gold. Wind carried the faint hum of cicadas through the dry air, while the wooden barns stood silent as ancient sentinels of a forgotten world. A faint trail of blood marked the sand, leading to a man, half-conscious, chest bare, his skin covered with dust and sweat. His long black hair clung to his face, and a deep wound across his ribs pulsed faintly with each shallow breath. He was Apache, one of the proud warriors of the desert, but now he was no warrior, just a man defeated by fate. From a distance, a young woman approached, her beige dress fluttering softly in the breeze. She was Emma, the daughter of a settler, who had stayed behind when everyone else fled after the raids. Her hands trembled as she held a small canteen of water, her heart racing faster than her footsteps. She had seen the man collapse near the barn earlier, but fear had held her back. Now, looking at the crimson sand beneath him, something in her heart overpowered that fear. Hey, can you hear me?" she whispered, kneeling beside him. The man's eyelids fluttered open. His dark eyes met hers, wild and wary, filled with both pain and defiance. He tried to rise, but the moment he moved, the pain seared through his chest like fire. He gasped, and Emma gently pressed her hand against his shoulder. "Don't move," she said firmly. "You'll make it worse." The Apache warrior stared at her, his breathing ragged. Why are you helping me?" he managed to say, his voice deep and broken. She hesitated. Maybe she didn't know the answer herself. Maybe it was the way he looked at her, like a wounded animal fighting not to show weakness. "Because I can't watch someone die," she murmured, pouring water onto a piece of cloth and dabbing at his wound. He flinched when the cold touch met his skin. She looked at the gash and felt her throat tighten. It wasn't just a cut. It was a blade wound, deep and infected. "You've lost too much blood," she said softly. "If I don't stitch this, you won't survive the night." His lips curled faintly. "Better to die than to owe my life to a white woman," he whispered, half delirious. She glared at him, her voice trembling but sharp. "Then die stubborn if that's what you want, but don't you dare bleed on my floor before I try to save you." The moment hung heavy between them. Then silence. Only the wind spoke. Emma worked quickly, gathering her needle and thread, heating the tip of a blade over a candle. She had done this once before, on her father's hand when a horse kicked him. But never like this. Never with someone who stared at her like she was both salvation and sin. When she leaned closer to clean the wound, he suddenly grabbed her wrist. His grip was weak, but his eyes flared. What are you doing?" the Apache stammered, his breath shallow. She froze, feeling the warmth of his hand, his fear, his confusion. Her lips parted as her heart raced uncontrollably. For a moment, the world seemed to stop. The dust, the wind, even the setting sun held its breath. Then she looked down, blushing, her voice trembling as she whispered, "Oh no." She hadn't realized how close she was, her face inches from his, her hands trembling against his chest. The realization struck her like lightning. She pulled back quickly, biting her lip, embarrassed by her own heartbeat. I'm just trying to help," she said, trying to sound firm again. "You're bleeding." He released her wrist slowly, his eyes softening. For the first time, she saw something different in them, something almost human beneath the pain and pride. She stitched the wound carefully, her hands shaking every time he winced or groaned. When it was done, she wrapped a cloth around his chest and sat back, exhausted, wiping the sweat from her forehead. "You're safe now," she whispered, though she wasn't sure if he even heard her. His eyes were already closing, his body trembling from fever. She stayed there beside him as the desert night crept in, cold and endless. The stars began to rise one by one, like silent witnesses to their fragile connection. Emma looked at his face in the flickering candlelight, the warrior who had once been her enemy, now lying helpless under her care. Something inside her shifted, something she didn't understand. Maybe compassion, maybe destiny. She pulled a blanket over him and whispered, "Don't die on me." Not yet. Outside, the coyotes howled, and the barn creaked with the chill wind. But inside that small corner of the world, two souls, divided by blood and history, lay inches apart, connected by a wound and a heartbeat. As the firelight danced across her face, Emma turned toward the camera, her voice soft but determined, as if speaking not just to herself, but to everyone watching her story unfold. "Sometimes, life surprises you with moments that test your heart," she said quietly. "If you want to know what happens next, how fate ties two broken lives together. Subscribe to the channel, because the story has just begun. She looked down once more at the wounded man, his breath steady now, and whispered, "Good night, stranger." And as the camera faded into the glow of the desert night, her shadow lingered beside him, two lives waiting for dawn and for Chapter 2 morning. Sunlight filtered through the cracks of the wooden barn, spilling over the rough floorboards and the slumbering figure lying beneath a worn blanket. The desert was silent, save for the distant caw of a hawk circling in the golden sky. Emma knelt beside the Apache again, watching his chest rise and fall steadily. His face, once hardened by pain and pride, now looked almost peaceful in sleep. She hadn't slept all night. Every sound outside had made her heart leap. Bandits, soldiers, or worse, someone looking for him. She didn't even know his name, yet something inside her refused to let him go. She reached to check his bandage. The wound had stopped bleeding, but the fever was still burning beneath his skin. She wrung a damp cloth and pressed it gently against his forehead. His eyes opened slowly, dazed and unsure, before focusing on her. For a moment neither spoke. It was as if words would break the fragile peace between them. Then his voice came, rough, quiet, almost confused. "Why are you still here?" Emma smiled faintly. "Because you're still breathing," she replied. "And because I couldn't just leave you." He tried to sit up, grimacing as pain shot through his ribs. She placed a hand on his shoulder, firm but gentle. "Don't move yet. You're not ready." His gaze met hers again, and this time, she saw gratitude hiding behind that warrior's pride. "You're not afraid of me?" he asked. Emma hesitated, her hand still resting lightly against his shoulder. "I was," she admitted softly. "The first time I saw you, I thought you'd come to kill me." A faint smirk crossed his lips. "And now?" She looked away, embarrassed, pretending to busy herself with the cloth. "Now I think you're just stubborn enough to live." He gave a small laugh, a deep, rough sound that caught her off guard. She found herself smiling too, realizing she hadn't heard laughter in weeks. But behind that brief warmth lingered a question she could no longer avoid. "Who did this to you?" she asked, nodding toward his wound. The Apache's expression darkened. He looked toward the doorway where the light poured in like fire. "Men," he said slowly. "Men who wear uniforms. They came for us at dawn. My tribe refused to leave our land. They called it government property." He paused, his jaw tightening. "They killed my brother. I escaped, but not before one of their bullets found me." Emma's heart sank. She knew those soldiers. They'd passed through her father's farm weeks ago, demanding supplies and burning anything left behind. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "They said they were bringing peace, but all they brought was smoke and graves." He turned his head toward her, studying her face. "You speak with sorrow. You've lost someone too." She nodded slowly. "My father. They said it was an accident. But I saw the way they looked at him when he refused to leave. He died protecting this land, same as your people." Silence fell again, heavy and tender. Two strangers, once enemies by name, now bound by pain neither of them had chosen. The Apache shifted slightly, wincing. "My name is Kale," he said finally, his voice steady now. "Son of the Eagle tribe." Emma smiled faintly. "Kyle," she repeated softly. "Strong name." He looked at her curiously. "And you?" "Emma," she replied. "Emma Hart." Kale nodded, the name lingering on his lips like a strange melody. "Emma," he echoed. For a while they spoke no more. The wind outside grew stronger, sweeping dust into golden swirls. Emma poured water into a small tin cup and helped Kale drink. When their hands touched, she felt the warmth of his skin and the roughness of his calloused fingers. It startled her how gentle he was despite the scars. But before peace could settle, the sound of horses shattered the silence. Emma froze. Kale's instincts flared immediately. He tried to rise, but she pushed him down, whispering urgently, "Stay still." She peered through the barn's cracks and saw 3 riders approaching, rifles glinting in the sun. Soldiers, the same kind Kale had escaped from. Her pulse raced. "They're here," she whispered. Kyle's eyes hardened. "If they find me, they'll kill you too," he said. "No," she replied, her voice trembling but firm. "Not if they don't see you." She quickly dragged an old haystack over him, covering his body beneath layers of straw. Kale grabbed her wrist weakly. "Emma!" She looked down at him, her breath shaking. "Don't speak," she whispered. "Trust me." His hand tightened around hers for a heartbeat, then let go. She turned just as the barn door swung open. "Miss Hart?" the soldier in front called out. "We're looking for an escaped Apache. He's wounded. You seen anyone come through here?" Emma stood tall, forcing calm into her trembling voice. "No one's been here but me," she said. "Just me and my father's old farm." The soldier's eyes narrowed. He stepped inside, glancing around. "Strange," he said, nudging the ground with his boot. "Looks like someone's been bleeding." Emma's heart pounded so hard she thought he might hear it. "I cut my hand fixing the barn," she lied smoothly, holding up her palm. The soldier stared at her for a long, tense moment before finally nodding. "You best stay safe, miss," he said. "That savage is still out there." They turned and rode away, the sound of hooves fading into the distance. Emma waited until they were gone, then rushed to the haystack, pulling it aside. Keel lay there, breathing hard, his eyes wide with disbelief. "You lied for me," he said quietly. She smiled faintly, brushing straw from his hair. "I saved you. Again." Keel looked at her, something fierce yet tender in his gaze. "You're not like them," he said softly. "You're not like anyone I've ever known." Emma felt her cheeks flush under his gaze. "Don't thank me yet," she said. "You still owe me your life." He smiled faintly. "Then I will spend it protecting yours." Their eyes locked in the fading light, and for a moment, time itself seemed to stop. Two broken worlds, one of desert tribes, the other of settlers, had collided in a barn filled with dust and hope. As the sun sank beyond the hills, Emma turned toward the camera once more, her voice steady, full of quiet strength. "Sometimes," she said, "the people we're taught to fear become the ones who save us. If you believe love can rise even in the ashes of war, don't forget to subscribe, because Kale's story isn't over. A storm is coming, and fate isn't done with them yet." The screen faded to black, leaving only the whisper of desert wind and the echo of her final words. "Stay with me, Kale." And in that whisper, the promise of Chapter 3 was born.